Acadiana's morning news coming up now on 8:05 from KATC TV3. Dave Baker joining Ian and I on the line. Good morning,
sir.
Gang. How are you doing today?
Great. How are you?
Well, making it. You know, we got kind of a wallop yesterday with some water. I don't know if you noticed.
Saw a little bit.
All right, Dave, we need you to look in that crystal ball and tell us what's going to happen today.
Well, I wish I had better news. We're already seeing rains that are developing over Vermilion and Cameron parishes, and those are a couple of areas that got hit pretty hard with the heavy rain yesterday. And a lot of these rains, as they're developing, they're just kind of sitting over the same area, very similar to what we saw yesterday. I don't know if you knew this, but Lake Charles smashed their daily rainfall record for yesterday. They picked up 12.5 inches of rain. That's actually the third wettest day on record, and they've got records that go way back into the 1800s. Here in Lafayette, we picked up 6.37 inches of rain in a 24-hour period, also smashing an old record that was set back in 1904.
Wow.
That sent the Vermilion River up to about 15.25 feet, which is well below what we saw in 2016. It actually crested around 17.6 back then. Mm-hmm. It's now sitting at about 14.4. I'm sitting over at the Doubletree Hotel right by the river, and I can tell you that the river, once again, is running in the opposite direction. Yep. A lot of that because of all of the runoff that we get here in Lafayette. We've got a very efficient drainage system. Believe it or not, I know a lot of people complain about the drainage we have here in Lafayette Parish, but it is a very efficient system, almost too efficient that it ends up pushing the river backwards at times, and that's what I'm seeing right now.
So, and that's the thing, it's how fast we, or how much intensity we might get with a set of thunderstorms over a short period of time, and that's why there's so much discussion ongoing the next couple of days, maybe into Friday, about the idea of more flash flooding being a possibility.
Yeah, very easily. I mean, right now with the river being so high and most of the coulees and the ground very saturated already, I mean, just a 1 or a 2 inch rainfall is going to cause significant problems, not necessarily like a 6 inch rainfall would. But, I mean, the river is already high right now, and the forecast isn't just for today, Bernie. We're talking about maybe Wednesday, Thursday, and then still Friday. Kind of scattered about on Friday before we get a break on the weekend.
Yeah, and, you know, we cannot stress enough, Dave, for people to keep their ears on us, their eyes on you guys, our partners, because, you know, the thing is the flash flooding that we saw last night was so significant. Now, we just hope it doesn't happen again between now and the next few days, but the possibility does exist, and that's why you just always kind of keep an ear on it, keep your eyes on it.
Yeah, you brought up a good point there, too, flash flooding, because, you know, that 6.5 inches of rain that we picked up here in Lafayette, that all occurred in about a 4-hour period of time, because we kind of had a steady rain for most of the morning. It wasn't too bad, and then we just got hammered there. Now, that was what Lake Charles dealt with for like almost 9 hours straight, and they picked up over 12 inches of rain in a matter of about 9 hours. So, you know, when we look back at some of the historical rainfalls that we've had, the largest rainfall we ever had here in Lafayette in a 24-hour period is over 19 inches of rain. That was the flood of 1940. And if you go on the web and you Google Riverside Inn, Lafayette, 1940 flood, you'll see what the Riverside Inn looked like. It was directly across the river from where the Hilton is here, and you can see how high the water was, significantly higher than it was here today. And then our number 2 and number 3 are back-to-back days back in 2016. Both of those days we picked up a little over 10 inches of rain. Lake Charles has had a couple of days where they had 15-inch rainfall days, but yesterday's was number 3 all time.
Good Lord.
That's absolutely insane. And we talked about people complaining about drainage and this and that, but when you get 7 inches of rain, there's no way you can handle it. And really and truly, yesterday's event, because of how slowly the storm moved and how much it hovered over Acadiana, really was a repeat of 2016. Only difference is it stopped after about 8 or 9 hours.
Yeah, and, you know, something we do need to watch out for, and it's been fortunate that we've gotten a little bit of a break, because the river actually did go down about a foot over the last 24 hours, even though it's running backwards right now. But if we get a significant amount of rain, it can bring the river up. Now, I also want you to remember that, the river comes up pretty quick. It can go from 10 feet to 14 feet lickety-split.
Yeah.
But once it gets over 14 and a half feet, that's when it starts to get out of its banks and it's spreading out a lot more. So your rise goes a lot slower once it gets past that 14 and a half feet. So when we got the 17.6 back in 2016, that's really significant. Since I've been here, we've only been over 14 and a half feet, maybe 3 or 4 times, and I've been here since 1994. And I want to say just a few years back, we got just over 15 feet, too. So it does seem to be occurring a little bit more often. But, right now it's just one of those things. Stay away from the river, stay away from the flooded roadways. And if you don't have anywhere to go over the next couple of days, just kind of chill at home and just make sure you keep an eye on the news and the weather over the next couple of days and not have to go anywhere. Just
one last
drive through the flooded waters.
Yes. My goodness.
I'm sorry for cutting you off, Dave. I have one last question for you, and we talked about the backflow, people living on the river. They may see the rain ending. They may have heard the levels have gone down. Why is it so important they don't let their guard down at this point?
Well, because there's still water that's draining. If you go and look at the coulees, there's still water that's coming in. And with the river here at the Doubletree already flowing upstream, you already know there's still water that's draining. So even though the river came down just a little bit, it's not going to take a whole lot of rain to start bringing it back up. Now, do I think it's going to run up to 17 feet real quick? Probably not, but, we might see it creep up into the 15, maybe even 16 feet if we can get some of those significant rainfalls just to hold over the same area like we did yesterday. And it doesn't really Ian, it doesn't have to be just right over the river. We can get some heavy rains up around Karen Crow, and a lot of those the coulee system kind of feeds into the main coulee mean that runs through downtown Lafayette. So it doesn't have to rain here in the hub city. It can rain just north of the area significantly and send a lot of water in our direction.
And that's the amazing thing. And looking at the coulee that runs behind Channel 3 and that runs next door to our building, it was at the top. And I don't remember ever seeing it that high except for 2016 when at that point the water was almost breaching the top of the coulee. Last night it was maybe 6 inches from the top, just based on the pictures I saw from Jim Hummel and Andrew Clay.
Yeah, Jim Hummel, I saw his video that he ran, and I went ahead and tweeted back because I had a picture from basically the same angle back in 2016, and it was really close. I actually think Jim's showed a little bit more water than what mine did in 2016.
Wow.
Good
now,
Lord.
That can be a number of different things. We got a lot of rain in a short period of time, but it could also be, it's been 5 years since 2016. You and I know there's been a lot more development. So there might be more water being sent into the coulee system faster than even back just 5 years ago.
Bernie and I were talking about that this morning. Development across the parish, north side, south side, everywhere. There's not as much green space and a whole lot more concrete and a lot more water going into the system.
Well, and then you add to it, Dave, the idea that, you work on one area where there are drainage issues, and that is going to impact another area, maybe positively, but maybe negatively as well.
Yeah, it's like what we're saying with the river going, running in the opposite direction. The coulee system in Lafayette is very efficient, and we can see that it's so efficient that it actually can run our river backwards.
Yeah. And the power of it is so substantial. Absolutely. Dave, any final thoughts for us here this morning?
Well, I would just say make sure that you're, listening to the latest news, catching the latest weather forecast, download all of the apps so that you can get the latest radar. And then when the weather does start to turn bad, just make sure that you're in a place that you can hunker down and just stay. We don't want people on the roadways. It's dangerous to drive on the roadways. That, of course, makes a wake, and that can add insult to injury to folks that live on those streets that may not have water in their house. If you get a big truck that goes by real fast, all of a sudden you got a huge wave coming in. That doesn't help anybody. And then the water's gross.
It is nasty.
In the water. There's chemicals in the water. And Mac and I have been here on the river. We've been watching the snakes going by in the water. The ants are trying to escape. They're making their piles up along the side of the river. So you know what, it's just pretty nasty out there. So just, if you could just stay home, that's what you need to do, and just follow us online and on the air, and at least through Thursday or Friday, because that's when we think it'll finally start to let up, is maybe this weekend.
Well, and the thing, I had my Delcom Reeboks on last night. I had to go investigate because unfortunately, Dave, it was within a matter of an hour. I was looking at a substantially different situation in both my back and my front yards last night, and I said,
Abby Breidenbach and I live on the same street, and we have a coulee that runs through our backyards, and both of us were talking this morning, I don't think I've ever seen the water quite that high. And then both of us realized, you know what? That's one of the first times we've ever actually been at home during a severe weather event, because we're always at work. We never get to see what it looks like at
Me
home.
too. That's exactly right. I know. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go check it out, and look it up. I'm never home either. It was very strange. Well, we will keep on with you guys, of course. Keep our eyes on you guys. Oh, Ian,
Dave,
I'm sorry.
one question. You mentioned the ants. You mentioned the snakes. Any alligators yet?
Yeah.
I have not seen any alligators just yet, but I know there's been some cruel tricks on former reporters at KATC by camera people, especially in the dark, yelling, "Oh no, there's a gator!" and then watching the reporter come scurrying out of the water to see as a joke.
Oh man, that's rough times. Hey, y'all have to keep it safe out there though, because it's mating season in May and June. Ian, we learned that.
We learned that last week.
Yeah.
Don't mess them. Hey, just to let you know, we are going to have another live cut-in on KATC at 8:27, and I am in front of the Doubletree Hotel, so we're going to kind of give you a view of what the water looks like if you want to see it later on.
Oh, absolutely, we do. And sir, thank y'all so much for everything y'all always do. We appreciate it.
Always great talking to the both of you.
You too, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Take
Appreciate
care.
you, brother.
Love that guy. Love him. I tell
Yes. And he and Abby been out all morning. I got a chance to watch their report. And
how weird is it that a bunch of us were actually at home when all of this was happening? That's never the case.
And that's the funny thing. For those of us who work the morning shift, and Baker's been working GMA, for 20 some odd years. Abby's been on GMA for the last 2+ years. I worked GMA on and off for 5-6 years. And now doing this, we were able to be home and watch the rain and watch the floods happen. They have a coulee. Thankfully, I'm up on a hill. I was able to watch everything drain off, but was able to see the flooding in the backyard some 100 or so yards away from the house. And it's just insane to be able to, when news is happening, actually be able to sit and watch it.
Yeah. It was interesting, but not so fun also in a way.
Yeah, especially on your end.
I did get to, like I said, got to check out the Delcom Reeboks, so that was good.
No, I saw the rain. I was like, okay, I can deal with that. Then I saw the lightning. I was like, I'm keeping my butt home. That's one thing on the north side. The flooding doesn't bother me because of where we are. The lightning is what kills me because I remember multiple times growing up back when my grandfather was still alive and my grandparents were still in the house.
Yeah.
Lightning hitting in the backyard. It hit a tree and felled a tree once back in the late 90s, early 2000s. In 2006, I was there. It was around 5:30 in the afternoon, and lightning hit exactly where that tree once stood. You could see the flash. You heard the bolt, and it shook the entire house. Same thing yesterday. There was a bolt that hit. It might not have been in the backyard, but it was on one of the adjacent properties. You heard the bang as soon as you saw the flash, and the house shook. Driving back on Pinhook yesterday, coming from the oil center, lightning flashed. It hit in one of the neighborhoods in the Macomb area, and you could see the flash, and you heard the crack immediately. I don't know what it is about that in the town, but we get a ton of lightning. The flooding may not hit us. Well, yesterday it did, but lightning is usually the worst part of storms on that end.
Yeah, very, quite the magnificent display in both a positive and negative way.
Yes.
Yeah. It's coming up now on 8:18.
I see what you did there.
Oh, yeah. Kind of, put that together a little bit. Sometimes I have some tricks up my sleeve. Just sometimes, though. I am no genius like the one and only Ian Ozan.
I wouldn't go that far.
All right, 8:18. When we come back, we're going to talk with Rob Goday, Cajun Navy, local guys. This has nothing to do with any of those other groups. This is our local guys, but they had a lot of folks in Lake Charles yesterday doing some rescues. We're going to talk with Rob and see what that was like.